$2.2 trillion. That's the amount of investments flew into clean energy technologies in 2025. With AI, demand for energy is skyrocketing. All big tech players are on lookout for energy sources to power up their next generation data centers to keep up with the demand, especially renewable energy. Building technologies for renewable energy is not easy, but some dare to take that path forward and build those technologies. Meet Dr. Subodha Charles, CEO of Alta Solar and Power from Sri Lanka. We're going to talk about how he and his team started this company from engineering college, building technologies for renewable energy and the future of clean tech. I'm encouraging you to watch this video until the end. There are so many videos just like this one in this YouTube channel. If you found this video to be useful, consider subscribing and leave a thumbs up to this video. If you have any feedback, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section down below. Now, let's go to the video. Welcome to the Builder Story. Learn from people who have built really cool stuff that matter. Subodha, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Shaf. Pleasure to be here and excited to talk to you.
So without me telling you about you, why don't you tell about yourself?
So when you first reached out to me for the podcast, I was thinking about how it's the builder story, right? So I was thinking, how do I get the story out there? So I dug up a few pictures that are kind of embarrassing, but I'll take a chance. So to your question, how did the whole engineering journey happen? I have a few pictures from university and school times. So I schooled at Rahula College in Matharan. This is a picture from a car wash. This is a group of my friends from school, and then we did a car wash, and the picture is from that. I'll not pinpoint exactly who am I in this picture. These people are the ones that I spent my childhood with. A shout out should go to those folks as well, which is why I put that here. Moved into the university after school. This is a picture from one of the first events that we had. This is the Dialogue Merit Scholarship. A lot of my batchmates are here. And then these are my boarding mates. And just in case you're wondering, like, we don't wear sarongs to university. That doesn't happen. This is a picture from an Urdu festival. So we had a boarding place, and then this was the group of people that I shared the boarding place with. Staying sane and going through the university, I credit to these people. That's why I wanted to show them as well. Of course, this is only the boarding place, right? In our batch, we had I did electronics. Within that, we had about 100 odd people, and the whole batch was about 700 to 800. A lot of others contributed as well, but these are the people that I spend time on a daily basis. And none of them are in Sri Lanka, so I'm happen to be the only guy who's in Sri Lanka. They're all over the place. So uni started this way, and then early days I was mainly into building robots. Group of people that I worked with. We competed in different competitions. We won some, we failed miserably in some, where you put the robot and the robot will do something funny and then stop working, or just a fire comes out. Every possible F-up happened in those competitions, but fun times. We went to some international competitions as well. This is RoboCon back in 2012 in Hong Kong. Yeah, so this was my first passion in university, mainly about robotics, electronics in general. So yeah, spent a whole bunch of time doing that. Yeah, I stumbled across this organization called IEEE. That was a volunteer organization. I was a part of the student branch and did some activities with IEEE as well. I did an internship at Zone 24/7. This was soon, and then I ended up publishing a few papers. This was out of my final year research. I worked on virtual reality. It was a thing. So this was the time that Facebook bought Oculus, the VR headset. Now it's everywhere. I mean, not everywhere, but there are so many companies doing that. But back then, around 2013-14 is the hype. So played around with that, got a paper out of it. Nice. We also worked on a medical device. So yeah, that's a summary of what happened in the university.
I still remember the first time, like when we started to sort of engage, was during my days at Dialogue in Sri Lanka. Subodha, you were building, and you had a team of people who were building stuff. And at the same time, I think we had common friends like Rashmika and Avaka, all those folks. They came up to me and say like, hey, you know what? Subodha is building a solar energy company that's pretty cool, like called Alta Vision. So, which is actually very rare for a university student while you're at university or maybe right about to graduate. You have your own company around like solar energy. I would say what? Because like generally a university student might start off a software company, not necessarily a hardware company, right? So if you can walk us to how did you come up with like decision? What was like the thinking behind it? Like you should not go and work for a company, rather start your own company, right? So I think a lot of folks who are watching this will be able to get a lot of insights from your story.
I think I'm an accidental entrepreneur. Didn't plan for it. I stumbled across something and then it happened. So this is a screenshot of our first company profile and the logo. So the name that we added for the company was Alta Vision. And the reason why we came to that point is a few of my friends, these are the people that you see on the screen, including myself, minus the beard. They got together and then I was called on board as the fifth person in the team. They said, Machang, we are building something. Would you like to join? And I was like, what are we building? What are we going to do? This was a phone call that I got while I was in a lab tinkering with some robot at the ENTC. Then I was like, okay, what is happening? He said, we don't have a product right now, but why don't we put our heads together and figure something out? Then my next question is, who is involved? I know you are involved. That's why you are talking to me, but who else? Then said, there's Lakshita, Samira, and Kaushala, and Rachita. These are the four people. We would like you to join the team. So these are people from Moratuwa, but I was the youngest. These folks were my senior and super senior batches, but I knew them from school. I realized that, okay, these are some smart people. If we put our heads together, we might be able to do something. The next thing that we did was we put our heads together and tried to figure out what are we going to do. And that was that brainstorming gave birth to this company profile. If you read this, you can see we are doing everything under the sun. Right?
That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, industrial automation, software, database handling, HR. It's like, I don't know what the hell we were thinking, but we wanted to say that we can do anything. Just let us know what you want.
Yeah,
that's not the ideal product market fit. There's no fit. This is like a solution for everyone, right? So that goes to the common saying that if your customer is everyone, you don't have a customer.
Yeah.
But that's how we started. And what we ended up doing is we started making calls to people that we know. Connections, people that we met through IEEE, people we worked with in our internships, whatever, right? People we got to know. And one of the companies, fortunately, said that, okay, I have a problem that you guys might be able to help solve. And that was to automate a production line. We developed a proof of concept. And the proof of concept worked. But when you develop like an electronic system with an Arduino, Machang, that's not going to last for 24 hours a day. Right? Doesn't work like that. So what they did was they took our concept and they they put their in-house team together and they implemented it. Right? That's what happened. Then we realized that, okay, getting something to work and getting something to work reliably are two different things. But still we got paid. We got 47,000 rupees paid for the work. And with that, we registered the company. Until then, it was just a name and a few profiles and all that. Right? So we registered the company. The official registration is on the 19th of February 2013. Then that's how Alta Vision started. Then moving a bit further in my story, the next couple of automation projects, we failed miserably. That was a royal you know what. But after that learning, at that point is where we met professionally, not as friends, but professionally. If you can remember the picture on the left-hand side, that was Bookseeker for IdeaMart. So for IdeaMart, we built this product where the Colombo International Book Fair, when people come, they can send like a text message and then get to know the stall where the book they're looking for is available. Right? So that was Bookseeker. We worked with IdeaMart. We did a few other software solutions simply because when we did that whole mess up in the automation sector, we wanted to do something that does not include an initial investment because automation includes hardware, right? You have to pay for it.
Yeah.
True. So if you mess something up, you keep the hardware. So what are you going to do with it? That's how we went into software and tinkered along with a few things. But while doing that, we realized that there is another opportunity in the energy sector. So this brings the story to how AltaVision ventured into the energy sector. So in 2013, we transitioned to energy. What you see on the right-hand side is the first invitation that we sent out to people to hold an information session, because solar was very new. If you can remember, when first the Nissan Leaf vehicles came into the market, they were very skeptical about the battery, right? They were thinking there's no second-hand market and all that. But look what happened during the fuel crisis, right? That's how market sentiment works. But back then, the same with solar. Back then, it was very difficult to convince people.
Yeah.
So we did an information session. It was a struggle to get our first customer. We went through that. So after the initial starting point, we went to exhibitions, we had stalls, we educated people about solar, the benefits, and that's how we started. So between 2013 and today, AltaVision Solar is our largest running operation. The highest revenue is generated in our group through AltaVision. We've done quite a few in the order of 1,000 double-digit megawatts. I'll not give specific numbers because by the time someone else listens to this podcast, it'll be another year and the numbers will be completely different. So let's stick to 1,000 and less than 100 megawatt. Then that becomes, at least for the next few years, that is valid. But yeah, we work with both the private and the public sectors. So quite a few things happened in AltaVision.
Now you looked at like software and then moved into hardware, right? So how did this like transition happen? Because I'm pretty sure there was like a learning curve for you. You definitely need to have like fabrication, probably some labs, or maybe like talk to some vendors.
If we can't build something reliably, that's a problem. Then software happened. In that business, in software, we learned that no matter what you think of yourself, if the customer doesn't perceive value in the solution that we're offering, it doesn't matter, right? It means zero, doesn't mean anything. So this is one of the things that I think, especially coming from a technical background, we think we know things, but that is not the case. And so you need to be grounded first, to be willing to listen to the customer, learn it, and iteratively improve. Coming to a question about challenges in hardware in the solar sector. So initially, Shaf, we did not manufacture anything. We simply got the equipment and did the installation.
Okay.
But it came with its own challenges because energy is a long-term play. If you, let's say you buy something, it comes with a 1-year warranty, then you don't really care about the 1-year warranty, right? I mean, you get that time duration and that's it. But energy is a 20-year commitment. Our panels come with a 20-year warranty. One of the main issues that we had was when we started back in 2013, I was in university, right? We were all undergraduates. So anyone seeing us will immediately realize that we are a bunch of kids. We had to answer those questions. After graduating, you might even go out of the country. How are you going to say that your company will survive for 20 years and I will be able to get my warranty or the service that you say you're offering, but how can I get it? This was a major problem. So the first customer, the way that we acquired that customer is we went and talked to our applied mathematics teacher. And we told him, sir, we are starting a new company working in solar. We have not installed any systems. This is our first system. So we don't want to, bullshit you. We'll be honest.
Yeah.
If you would like to be our first customer, we will spend money on the panels, we'll get the inverters, we'll put it up on your house. And if it works for a month, please pay us. So that was the deal. He said yes. But he believed in us because we had a good rapport with him from school times. We recently had our 12-year celebration. And he was our chief guest. And he spoke at that event as well, being our first customer. So fortunately, it worked. So for the first installation, we had a couple of helpers to get the panels on top of the roof. But we were on the roof working with them. We did the structure, we did the welding, like bending of steel and all that. It took us 2 weeks. For sake of comparison, right now, the same capacity, it was a 4 kilowatt system. The same capacity, we would finish it in like half a day right now. So but that was project number one. And after we completed the first project, we were also confident. We needed some capital. We got that from our families and friends, and we paid that back to them with interest. I paid interest to my parents as well. They didn't ask, of course, but we were trying to keep professional and personal lives separate. And also credit to them. I mean, they are middle class people. They are government servants, so they didn't have like a really piled up money for us to spend and risk on a company. But with that initial belief, we got some. It is not a huge amount. Like we gathered about ₹1 million. That's it. And we got the items. But later on, when you install more solar PV systems, it becomes like a cash flow game. You get an advance from someone, you do the installation, you get the money, you go to the next site and so on, right? Along the way, we had to borrow money from banks. We got loans, we got overdrafts. We have, even to date, my house is mortgaged. So if we screw up, house is gone. So you need to have some skin in the game, not just mine, all the co-founders. I showed you the folks, right? So throughout the time, we started with 5, but we are now with 2 people out of the 5, myself and Rachita Muthukumarana, who's the other main person. He's pretty much like the brains behind all the operations. So a lot of credit goes to him as well.
I think that's very inspiring, right? Like first, like thanks for sharing the initial customer story also, because like as you were correctly mentioning, when someone does not have experience, people are very skeptical about it. And then it's money, right? Like for someone to open up the wallet and then pay like a huge sum, that means of course there should be credibility and all that. So kudos to your applied science teacher and then rest of the at least 5-10 customers who believed in you. Right after, I think, starting Alta Vision, you went on to study abroad as well. Like you continued your studies. You didn't stop just because you want to continue your entrepreneurship journey. So one thing I think people who are watching would also, and myself included, right? How do you like balance like this whole engagement? One thing is running a business, and then you are doing full-time PhD, and then you did this in Florida, University of Florida. So you were not in country also. So how did you balance this whole like engagement?
If I go back to the slides, I have a picture of our boarding folks at the graduation at Moratuwa. So after graduating, I worked full-time on the company for close to 2 years, 1.5. Then during that time, the company was kind of picking up, not very much, but we kind of understood that, okay, we are in a place where we can generate more business, so we can just push forward. So one of the first things that happened, fortunately for us, was mainly Rachita is to credit for this. He brought in some of his batchmates who were working in the industry related to solar. So to name them, 3 people took an initial bet rather than working for an established company. They joined our startup. Vikum Vijay-Singha, Oshada Ranavaka and Udita Mettananda. All 3 people joined our company. Because even today, they are still with us. They came so many years ago, still running the ship with us. They were a huge value addition to the team. We got a really good core group of people to drive the business in our absence. So after graduation, I ended up getting a full scholarship from the University of Florida. This means that you don't have to pay any tuition. Also, for working as a research assistant and a teaching assistant, you get paid a salary as well. So it's pretty much free education again, having gone through free education at Moratuwa. It was an opportunity that I did not want to pass. And at the same time, Rachita also got an offer from Clarkson University, same deal, same assistantships and tuition waivers and all that with health insurance. So that was a good deal. So we both decided to accept the offers. And we thought that, okay, we have this group of people here in Sri Lanka. We'll do our PhDs and then we'll manage the company while being in the US. So we were in the US. I was in Florida. Rachita was in New York. And we were going to school in the morning, coming back, and then until late night. It helped because of the time zone difference. When we come back late at night, it's morning in Sri Lanka. So we can have those calls and make it happen. So I have a few pictures from Florida days. We have a stadium. It's very heavy on sports. UF, the mascot is Gators, so go Gators. So yeah, quite a few star athletes are there. So the guy who's the Olympic champion in swimming after Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps is a big deal, right? Everybody knows.
Yeah.
So there's a guy called Caleb Dressel. He's a Gator from same university and a few other good things. And there's a Netflix documentary on the Gators and the whole American football run that they had. Anyway, that's an advertisement for UF. Then, so this is my PhD advisor. We were in Florence for a conference and went to visit Pisa, a picture from that. And during PhD, I did a internship with Intel, and this is my group that I work with, my managers and team members. And the question that you asked, Shaf, was how did we run the company, right? You were not asking about my PhD. So coming to that point, a lot of credit during that time goes to Rachita. He's the guy in the picture with me. We went to visit Niagara Falls because that's closer to where he was living in upstate New York. So he spent much less time on his PhD than I did.
Okay.
I need to be very transparent on that. So he pulled bulk of the weight of the company and was mainly the driving force behind getting that company to where it is today. My time commitment for the company was limited compared to him. But of course, both of us were driving things forward. But Rachita should get bulk of the credit for driving the company during that time. And of course, for the team, I mentioned a few names. So this is Vikum, Udita, Colin Mehta, Oshada. I don't know whether you can see my mouse pointer, but these are the folks. And this is right now as in this last year. This was our 12-year celebration, and now the team has grown. This is our leadership team. And we are advocating for more women to come into the picture as well.
Coming from Sri Lanka, coming from a background where your parents would prefer for you to take on a safe job, stay in Sri Lanka. But in your case, it doesn't seem to be. So what was like back at home, the support that you got from your parents?
They were pretty understanding. I mean, of course, both of them had a very conventional career path, go to uni, get a stable job, work until retirement, get a pension, right? That's, I would say, like the status quo back then.
True.
But given that they had that history, we of course had conversations, right? It's not like, oh yeah, fantastic, go do that. But they were never saying that don't do it. There were never hard roadblocks. And I told you just now that they were the ones who gave initial money, right? Our parents, myself, Rachita's and all that. So they were quite supportive. And in fact, my dad still works in the company. So he still goes to office every day in the morning. He likes to do it. And I think that's one way that he keeps himself engaged with the activities. So they were quite supportive. They of course raised concerns especially when I was coming from the US back to Sri Lanka, and that happened in the middle of COVID, and the rupee was plummeting, and I went through the whole gas station queues, no power, all that. Fortunately, because we are in renewable energy, we had batteries and solar and all that, so that's not a problem that we had or I had personally. But of course, you can't manufacture petrol, right? So you have to stay in queues, get that. Even today, we go with a QR code, but fun stuff. During that time, they of course raised concerns. I had the opportunity of staying back. I had a couple of offers as well. But as the name of the podcast, Machang, when you are building something, you really get excited. You get like a dopamine hit by building something, getting a good news. So that's in a way addictive.
True.
I wouldn't say the financial security of being here and building in Sri Lanka is the same as the US.
True.
Because especially if you join like a Fortune 500 company, let's say you join Intel, that's something I could have applied for. I don't know. Because I completed an internship, you pretty much can go back, but I never applied or went through the interview process. So I can't say that I would get selected again, but there was a good chance. But I did not apply because of this, because of the company. So the financial security would be much higher if you work for a company like Intel. You will work in a very good domain, you will earn well, but the salary will definitely be lower in Sri Lanka when you run your own company. But it's an investment, right? It's compounding every day. So compounded activities will go much further than like an initial paycheck, whatever value that paycheck holds. So this was my motivation. So it's a risk. You keep building, some things work, some things don't. We have sunk money in wrong investments. we've been very fortunate in a few investments. So yeah, that's the game. And I wanted to be part of that game. Didn't want to be bored. So this is fun.
When you're a builder and when you're part of the game, you feel really good about it. It just not work. And also, one good thing is that when you're an entrepreneur, you make more opportunities for others as well. So from there, a lot of other families and other individuals also get a livelihood from what you are building. So kudos to you and then the team as well. So Subodha, now building a company is not easy. Building, like coming from university days to like following PhD to learning everything from the scratch, because you have an engineering background, not a business or a management background. So you had to learn a lot of things. It's same to other co-founders as well. So, but what were some of the initial challenges that you had when you started off the company?
I already shared one story of getting the first customer. That's applied maths teacher, Janaka Bevardhana. So that was a good learning curve for us. One of the challenges that we have faced, the story I shared with you so far is on our energy installation company. But over the years, we have invested whatever profit that we made from that company into different other ventures. So let me answer that challenge through a few other companies that we started.
Sure.
So this leadership group is handling multiple ventures right now. Because we were in solar, we went into construction. Because as you know, when you put up solar on your roof, you need to have a steel construction to put up the panels.
True.
Then because of that, we went into construction. So currently we work with utilities and other transmission kind of companies to develop high and medium voltage towers. So we started with the civil work, and then we are doing the tower erection as well. So some pictures from that. This we started in 2019. But one unique value proposition that we offer to our customers is that we do the calculations, we look at the sun, the path of that, the roof angle, and then we build like a custom structure to set up solar. To do that, we had our in-house structural engineers to look at the strength of the roof. Can it be done? Do we have to reinforce it? What is the best angle? And that is the foundation on which we went into construction. Initially, it was just doing so you see the foundation here in this picture? Initially, we were doing only that much, just that. And then some other company will come and do the tower, right? And we also get subcontracts. We are not like the main bidder for something like this. We get subcontracts from a bigger company. There are a few big players, like construction big players in Sri Lanka. We would get subcontract from them, right? So then that's how we started. And then slowly, once you have some track record, you can build. So it's been now 7 years. So we gradually built and we got our own construction certifications. So yeah. So while this is happening, moving on, we noticed that our energy infrastructure is, again, for a lack of a better term, it's very dumb. Meaning that there's no intelligence as such. We have fragmented systems. And to give you an example, the Ceylon Electricity Board right now does not know how much of rooftop solar PV is being contributed to the national grid. That national level monitoring does not exist. It exists for ground mounted, exists for large scale, but for rooftop, no. That's a challenge that we will face as we scale up in renewable energy sector. It was bound to happen. Other countries go through the same cycle, but now we are trying to address it. So with that motivation, we started Syntax Genie as a software and digital solutions provider, giving you one answer, Shaf, about what challenges we faced about Syntax Genie. When you build a software company, you either go into services or you go into products. If you're in services, you find a client, you get the requirement, you do the software solution for them, you invoice them, end of story.
Yeah,
we did that. We did that in the beginning to keep the ship running, right? Then later, we realized that if we want to build a product, rather than going after funding or putting our own money, there are methods to address that. And one of those methods that we realized was grant funding. So back in like 2021, we started Syntax in 2020, around 21, 22, we applied for a whole bunch of grants by telling the story of making energy more intelligent. Our pitch was, if Sri Lanka is to achieve 70% of renewable penetration by 2030, the grid needs to be intelligent.
Yeah.
If you do that, you will reduce coal, you will reduce thermal oil, right? That is environmentally friendly. That feeds into climate change, circular economy, all these things. So there are a lot of philanthropic efforts in different parts of the world who funds these kind of activities. So we were lucky to recognize that opportunity and also to apply, get those grants. The first one we got was to develop a mini grid. And after that, capitalizing on it, we did USAID funded us. We did a couple of grants from Innovate UK, that's UK Research and Innovation. We have a Asian Development Bank funded project. And that's just yesterday, we got another, it's not a grant, it's a tender that we got from another international renewable player. So to date, we have received about $3 million plus in grant funding. And that has pushed our product development forward. So that's one way that we addressed, which did not push us towards raising external capital. We managed to put our own money and cover the cost through grant funding, because 3 million goes a long way in Sri Lanka.
For sure. When I was looking at your sort of the portfolio of companies, right, what I see is there's an integration of what you do. Like there's forward integration or a backward integration. For an example, now one story that you mentioned was like, okay, now I'm doing like a rooftop installation, so I have structural engineer, so I know that part of the business. So let me go and like build stuff for like large scale projects. So that's one. And then you also found out that okay, the energy sector needs more intelligence, so that rather than like bringing down something that's already been built, probably we should start off building one, right? So when you look at all these, like the whole spectrum of your like series of companies right now, one key question that comes up quite often is that like, how do you manage all these companies in a row? I know you have like an amazing team, but you're the group chairman and the CEO. So like, how is it like to manage like a bunch of more companies that are specialized in different areas?
This is an ongoing challenge. I will not pretend to have all the answers figured out, but if we have figured out something, that is our leadership team that I showed you a picture in our previous slide. They are the ones doing the heavy lifting. So as CEO, I like to call myself a glorified salesperson. That's pretty much what I do. We have the product team to build the tech. I'm very far away from the tech. I don't do anything related to what I did for my PhD, far away from that. Do I think about it? Yes. Do I regret? No, it's a different type of fun. To your question, how do we manage? It's a process. We had a all hands meeting of the leadership team last week as well. We were looking at our processes and making sure that we have the SOPs in place. What are the strengths and weaknesses? We did a thorough analysis. And also to mention, these days, starting this year, we are going through this program called the Stanford Seed Transformation Program.
Yeah.
This is from the Stanford Graduate School of Business, but it's not a degree. It's a training program for relatively established companies. They have a minimum revenue value that they look at. They look at established companies and they help transform that into the next level. Wow. Going through that, we have recognized quite a few of our strengths and weaknesses, and we are trying to patch them right now. So we make sure that, so we operate on a few values, Shaf. One of them being we are dead customer focused, like absolutely no compromise on that. Absolutely, I ran out of adjectives to call that, but customer focused, right? Then we ask everyone to question. If they don't understand something, if you're an intern, you came just today, something doesn't make sense. Why are we doing it the way that we are doing it? I know these are like, everybody talks about this. It might even be cliche to mention it, but putting that actually into practice and developing that team who really believes in it and trickles all the way down. It is easier said than done, because if you're a startup, you can say that, yes, we allow our interns to ask questions. We are always on first name basis. We have a culture and all that, right? But it's a whole different ball game when you have 150 people.
True.
It's not 15 anymore. So then how do you make sure that somebody, an intern reporting to another middle manager, we don't have titles, but still,
Yeah.
how do you trickle that vision all the way down? That is a challenge that we are facing right now. Two different things. So I think we are going through the pain of growth in a way, because you as a founder, you can run here and do things in the early stages, right? The lady who's giving tea in the office, if she ran out of biscuits, I would go and get biscuits from the supermarket
Yeah.
back in the day, right? Your chief everything officer. If the toilet smells bad, you will be the first to go and grab a air freshener,
True.
right? So that can be done when you are a startup, but when you grow, you need to have checks and balances, clear responsibilities for people, so that way you can focus on the next big thing.
True.
And just to conclude that story, Shaf, I really believe in what I don't know whether you've heard this venture capitalist called Naval Ravikant.
Yeah. Nawal. Big fan.
Yes. Oh my God. If there is a religion, I'll probably be in Nawalism. Big fan. I would even go up to the level of calling him a role model. I read all his books, listen to everything that he has to say. I recently finished reading one of his books as well. But yeah, what he says is, you as a founder or a person who's running a business, you should have like freedom of mind to identify opportunities, make those decisions, because in this day and age, the cost of a wrong decision versus the cost of a good decision, it amplifies.
True.
Because you have AI, you have people to work. So it really boils down, if you are a leader, what decisions do you take? Which direction do you take the company, right? So Nawal's example is that you should be like a lion. A lion will hunt very aggressively for a few hours, and then the bugger will fall somewhere, eat and sleep and recharge. Right?
Yeah.
So not exactly there, but try to keep an eye out for the opportunity, and then once that comes up, pounce on it, build the structure to run it, and then rest. Wait for the next. Read, learn, look at the trends in the world. So I'm talking about an ideal case scenario, Machan. I'm not there yet. But to your question, how do you run multiple segments? How do you manage the team? This is what I try to do. Identify good people, give them clear responsibilities, let them grow, let them make mistakes, build that supportive structure for them to run with things.
When I looked at like Pearl Cluster, now Alta Vision is a part of Pearl Cluster. It has grown. All those companies comes under Pearl Cluster, right? So if you look at like this whole spectrum of things that actually interconnects to each other, but there's an outlier. That's healthcare. Like, how did you get into healthcare? What is there? What's your sort of business there?
Yeah, so this was mainly something that we took out of from our time back in the US. We saw how the healthcare system works over there, and then naturally you start comparing that to whatever is back at home, right? And I should tell this upfront: we have an amazing healthcare sector, a service, especially from the government sector. People don't understand how much of a benefit free healthcare is in Sri Lanka. Having said that, there are things that we can definitely improve. And we saw them firsthand, especially in the US, when we went through our procedures in the US. So we always had this thing in the back of the mind. Healthcare is one thing that we want to try and improve, and education is another. We've not gone into education yet, but healthcare was one of them. With that motivation, we saw a market opportunity in one of the tier 3 cities in tier 3, 4 cities in Sri Lanka. That's Tangol. In Tangol, there was not much of a private healthcare scene. There was one main healthcare provider, in addition to the base hospital, the Tangol base hospital. So Rachita, again, credit to him, he noticed this. And then he said, Machang, there is this thing. I know we are very, very far away from healthcare. We are doing energy. But what do you think about this? So we did some studying. We look at like the population in the area, those who are coming from that whole southern belt, like Walasmul, Ran, Agunogola Palace. They have Mathura and they have Hambantota. If anybody is not familiar with the Sri Lankan geography, these are major cities in the south, in the southern province. Tangol is in between Mathura and Hambantota, but closer to in a way. Now with the expressway, things have changed, but back then there was no such thing. So once we saw the opportunity, we started brainstorming, and on the left top corner, this is one of our first calls that we had. Because we were engineering driven. Like I know nothing about healthcare, right? So then what we did was we invited a couple of our friends to be co-investors. So they joined. You can see them in the picture, Manidu Ruvina and Sachit, who's not here. And this is what the hospital looks like. We found a building to rent. They did not take any use of the building, and we said we have this idea. We'll renovate the whole place. We'll convert that into a hospital. We went into a long-term lease with them and started. So this is the before picture, and this is after. We initially started this as a channeling center, and people in Sri Lanka knows what channeling is. You book an appointment to meet a specialist doctor, and you go and talk to the doctor, get medicine, and come back, right? So channeling is not residential care, in-house patient care and all that. Not going there, but channeling is something everyone can understand. Then after we built like a base out of channeling, then we started expanding. We initially had a partnership with a medical lab in our hospital. Then after a couple of years, we got our own equipment, built our own lab, and currently these are some numbers. This is as of today. For the record, this is April 2026. This will change, but we have 12 beds, 12 rooms, essentially 45 plus consultants come, and about 4,000 channeling per month. And we have all these facilities. We are not by no means we are like the biggest hospital. That is not the case. We are a small player, but we are doing what we can with the resources that we have. So yeah, that's about health. We wanted to get a software to run the hospital, and we ended up investing in that company. So then that became a part of Pearl Cluster. So we have a suite of solutions called Island Wellness that pretty much runs an entire hospital operation from the point of admission to managing inventory, admissions, billing, HR, everything, right? So to run a hospital. We have these clients. It's an old company, 20 plus years. It's actually older than Alta Vision. We invested in that and got that under Pearl Cluster. So it's still growing, a few clients right now. But yeah, it's been going at a very slow pace. One of the things that we're looking at is to ramp up that operation.
Just to clarify, right? Like now, this is a software arm for the healthcare sector that you're looking at, and then this does not combine with the syntax genie. It's totally
it does, Gajaga. No, it does. Well, when we invested in that, it's a separate legal entity, but now they are also software developers. So we consider project teams, and it comes that becomes more easier to manage rather than doing like a whole separate company. So we share resources. We put developers from one project to the other. So we like to think of ourselves as developing products for energy and healthcare sectors. So Syntax Genie is like the group's software solution provider. As we grow, we have parts within our group that caters to different. For example, we have our own in-house marketing team that does marketing across the group. Syntax Genie does software solutions, and we have AV IoT, that stands for Alta Vision IoT. We provide industrial automation. That's a separate company, but we share resources all as Pearl Cluster. I had one more piece of the healthcare story, that is Engage. So because we had the healthcare background, and there is a growing population of Sri Lankan elder generation. Seeing this need, we started in early 2025, so this is rather new, an elder care center. So what happens here is that people come and they live with us. They get treatment. We have 24-hour care. They do activities. They do like painting, yoga. They do gardening. They play games. Because when you are old and if you're living by yourself, what really matters is that community. You need someone to talk to, right? And especially, we had a lot of people migrating out of the country and their parents are here.
True.
So someone must take care of them. So we recognize this as a good market opportunity. And also, we have that whole infrastructure of software, trained caregivers, nurses. We have a nursing academy as a part of our hospital operation. So we had the infrastructure. And we were confident that we can give a service way beyond anybody else, because we have all the pieces together compared to anyone else just doing elder care, right? You can come up with an elder care company tomorrow, but you don't have 6 years of running a hospital, supply chain, medical supplies, connections to doctors, connections to caregivers. So we capitalize on that, and we have opened 2 centers, one in Pothuvarava and Arangala. These are both areas close to Malabe. You can see the number of beds. It's a small space, not too much. I mean, you think of 20 beds, that is not the case. You can see four beds. So it's a small community. These people interact. It's like well, I don't like to use the word family for a team, but the elders living in that house, they end up become family because they spend a lot of time with each other. Yeah. So this was the latest inclusion to Pearl Cluster.
Like, it was very intriguing to me to see like the journey so far, right? Like, it's very fascinating because there has been, like, for last 12 years, you have had like different facets, you have had different sort of challenges, all that stuff. So one, like people who are watching and myself included, the question that we have is like, okay, how do you come up with ideas, like pick good ideas for ventures that can expand? Because I'm pretty sure like this seems all rosy, but the thing is, in reality, I'm pretty sure you would have tried out many other things as well which didn't work. So how do you sort of pick the right idea, and how do you kind of go execute on that?
I would say when you look for ideas, you validate them and then you start working on it. Depending on the stage that you are at in your company, the process is different. What I mean by that is, if you are a startup, right, then you are pretty much you're scrappy. You try to put something together. You try to get your first couple of customers, and you are in a survival game. You validate your idea. You want to raise funds. Is my product correct? Is it the proper fit to the market? Right? You validate this. So that validation process happens at every startup. But when you go and you come to, let's say, the scaling stage, right? You are stress testing your assumptions. You have a track record and you have a customer base. On top of that, you can test some assumptions. Then the way that you validate becomes different. I'll give you an example. When we started Engage, we looked at where should we position ourselves, right? I initially started answering this question by talking about startups being scrappy, putting something together, and then finding those initial customers. We never had to go through that. That is because we did not do a product. We did a service business which kept on generating that cash flow, the solar PV installations, right? So I might not be the best person to give advice on product development in the very early stages in a startup. So I'll not talk about things that I have not done. Having said that, when we started Syntaxini, I told you the way that we solved the funding problem was, we had that solar PV background, we had the connections, we had the track record, and we had funding from grants. We combined them to build our products. So we had runway. So it was not a matter of survival. It was, again, developing something, checking if this is the correct way to do it. So we iteratively built it. We had the patience. But I'll give you an example out of Engage. When we first conceptualized the idea, we were fortunate, by the way, to get the first geriatric consultant in Sri Lanka as our business partner. That was a good USP for us. What we did was we looked at the market. How many people are there in Sri Lanka who will need this service? Right? By 2030, we will have 2.6 million people in Sri Lanka who are 65 plus. That's the bigger market, right, in Sri Lanka. But that's a very, again, to steal your word, that's a very rosy statement. Everybody says my TAM is some billions or millions of people, right?
Sure.
But what we narrowed down, that's what I remember. That's why I don't remember the bigger number, but I remember the smaller numbers. We narrowed it down to Colombo. We said there are 1.4 million elders in the Western province. Out of that, about 5 to 7%, that's about 85,000 people who are in the high income category. That is our target market. That is what we are going after, right? Then we look at their needs. What are they lacking? They don't need, if they need medicine, and if they have the money, they need medicine. What they will do is they will get a doctor to do a home visit, or they'll pay for a caregiver to stay with them 24/7, right? We didn't do that. We wanted to have that experiential, that integrated structure of engage where they come live with us, they get that community. So that's one way we differentiated ourselves. There are nursing homes in Sri Lanka. They just stay in a bed, they get a nurse, they watch something, and that's it. There's no community. Not to say that we are the only ones doing it. We of course have competitors, but that is like the segment that we wanted to target. And we are growing now. We've identified center number 3. We are constantly looking at expanding because we are targeting about, well, not to get ahead of myself, but expanding the number of beds by the end of next year significantly.
Nice.
So coming back to idea validation, it's when you're in the growth phase, it's pretty much looking at the market, having concrete figures, listening to what the customer needs, and iteratively stress testing and validating your assumptions with real market feedback. And if you're an investor, then that's another game. If you're a VC, that's another game. So this idea validation, I think, really depends on the nature of the business, where you are, and what do you want to achieve. Do you want to invest, get out? Do you want to scale? Or are you a startup?
Because you're at a juncture where you're not an early stage startup, you have established businesses which can actually helps you some runway for you to like stress test some of these ideas. Now, one thing that really fascinates me, and for you, it like when you were explaining, it came naturally to you. Like, I have found this person to run the business, I have found this particular connection, someone else to come and like invest. So these are all like part of the team, right? Like everyone's part of the team. Like, what fascinates me is that how do you know who are the right people to pick? Because like initially it was just few uni students got together, but now the ball game is totally different ventures. So how do you pick the right people, and then how do you convince them to come and like work with you?
Well, first of all, I think it helps with the domain that we are in, energy and healthcare. That's something people can empathize with. That makes it an easier sell. If we are making the lives of people better by giving them intelligent, affordable energy solutions, that's part of our mission, by the way, then people can believe in it. Same with healthcare. We are putting technology into the mix. We are making sure that we get out of our outdated system in healthcare. All these are things that they can believe in. Again, to quote Nawal, so he says that the best people, they are the ones not looking for a job, but rather looking for a mission. I know that's a very, again, vague, very high-level statement. What we try to find when we get someone in, how do you work? Do you align with our values? Do you go above and beyond to make the customer happy? Did you make a mistake with the correct intention? Did you learn from that mistake? We've been fortunate enough to get a few people initially from our network. We've basically lived with them. We have shared food with them, so we know their DNA. We were fortunate to get them on board initially. But you can't keep on doing that as you scale.
True.
Therefore, we look for the qualities that I mentioned in people, especially around the alignment and the vision and all that, right? At some point, when you keep on growing, it becomes making sure everybody is aligned rather than managing them. I say that because if you get like great people, you don't have to manage them. You just have to tell them what needs to be done. Here are the values. These are operating system. Keep the values in mind. We do customer first. We question everything and understand. We always improve and we pursue excellence. Center around these values, and they don't just become things that we hang on the wall in the office. It is apparent when we kind of do a post-mortem of a mistake we made. What did we do? What we could have done? It becomes apparent in our all hands meetings. So we keep on repeating it. Then everybody understands, okay, these guys are, this is how things happen in this company. I believe in the mission. These are the values. I have a place here. If I do good work, I can help the community. I make real change in the lives of people, and that makes it easier for them to align. So that has been our hiring philosophy. If we identify someone, even 1 year into the company, we quickly pick that person and say that, okay, you are a part of leadership team of company X, you run with it. It's never a matter of the time you spend. It's definitely identifying talent, getting them to do the right thing. So we promoted people very fast within our organization.
That's great advice for those who wants to start a company, and of course to attract talent. Plus, I think finding some of the key folks, right? Like first of all, find them from your own network, and of course, like University of Mortua has a vast array of I think a massive network, not only in Sri Lanka but outside as well. And then go beyond also. Now, the third and the final point on that, like building companies, etc., which is about like how do you get cash flow to get this thing running, right? One thing is, of course, you have a profitable business, and then on a recurring basis, you get some money flowing in. At the same time, some funding from grants that's coming up as well. But I also know you have pitched at venture engine. How do you keep this cash flow going?
So far, we have not required any outside investment into our core business. So just to put things into perspective, Alta Vision has not raised money as of now. It's all bootstrapped. For the hospital, we raised outside capital. We have other business partners in, for example, Engage, in a couple of other companies. But all these we have bankrolled ourselves, our part of the investment. The way that we raised money is initially I was telling you it was friends and family, and then we went into bank loans, mortgages, overdrafts with collateral. And then after a while, you build a reputation with banks. Then they will be willing to give you money. Especially if you don't default on your obligations, they can see your cash flow. All these things I understand takes time. But if you don't do it now, so the best day to do something was yesterday. The second best thing is today, right? So the same thing. Loans is something that we got debt. And coming to your question about venture engine and that pitching, we've been connected with Lankan angel networks with Prajit, Asera and folks. We were pitching, number one, to validate a couple of things that we were doing.
Nice.
And then to see whether we can expand to new markets. Because back in 2022, we started our office in the UK.
Nice.
The UK operation is very small right now. Rachita is there. Small number of people, we do installations, and now we are thinking of doing some new activities. This is a new line of products that we are coming up with. So my story so far, I told you the installation, the digital layer, but I told you that we have gotten items from other countries like China mainly and done the installation. But now we are trying to manufacture these in Sri Lanka. So Ampere Arc is the brand that we are promoting. This is our own battery.
Wow.
Ampere Arc branded battery. And today we did not plan for this, complete coincidence. Today we are shipping our first 15 batteries. So people will be overnight in office. We'll have a whole nighter. And then we'll ship the batteries out. First order, not a huge fancy order, 15 units, but we'll get it across.
That's
but down the line, exactly, that's a start. Yeah. Down the line, we plan on getting into inverters. So let me go to the next picture. The battery currently looks like this, by the way. There's a actual design, but we don't have an inverter right now. But in the process of making it. So that's one thing. So coming back to your question about fundraising. This is one area that we needed funding to scale. So we are exploring multiple avenues to see if there is a synergy between a manufacturer who can put money in, and then with our background in energy, we can really scale it up. True. And we are also looking to get into the UK market as well with our own batteries manufactured in Britain. So made in Britain is a big deal for the British. Yes, it's a big deal. So we are going in that direction as well. Racing right now to ramp up our operations, but racing from a person who not only puts money but opens doors for us. Very nice story recently from Kaiju Labs. Shout out to them. They are my batchmates, Samira and Shamira. Fantastic job with Kaiju, which was sold to Cast Finance, and then I saw them raised another round of funding. Sri Lankan success stories. We recently had Wealth OS. That was not our path. We were bootstrapping the whole thing. We might go for an IPO at some point, but let's see.
Yeah, but I think those are like the visions that you need to also have, right? You just can't confine yourself, and then how some of the the games are being played. You need to actually expand. That's one of my questions also, like, aren't you thinking about expanding? Because like across the world. Of course, when you look at you're a part of IEEE, you are seeing the trends across the globe, how these energy sectors are growing, and there's a demand, like a growing demand for like energy tech efficiency, like efficient energy, especially with AI and all that. That's something all these engineers and researchers are working on. Plus, like beyond that, like people on household, some like of course we say like oh wow, everything seems very nice, going well, but there are parts of the world not equally sort of connected to rest of the world as well. Energy, that something can do these like wonders and miracles come into picture. So that's great to hear, like Subodha, and congrats, and then wishing all the very best for the expansion of the venture. Now, I actually want to take a bit of a turn and then talk about, you're seeing a lot of these trends that are coming up. Like if you look at one energy source, you were a researcher also. Like if you look at like all these energy sources, what is the one or two energy sources that you think gonna be a game changer in the future?
When we first went into the solar market, it was a very like a new thing, right? We had to do convincing for people. But now the capital investment has come down so much, everybody can afford it. And the cost of developing a solar plant is on par with other major energy infrastructure investments. So this is definitely going to keep on growing. That's one thing for sure. And you mentioned this in your comments as well. People are thinking of extracting energy from the space. I was listening to an interview by Elon Musk. SpaceX and XAI merged, and with Starlink, he has the bits and pieces to put data centers on the space. If you look at a country like Sri Lanka, our unique value proposition can be the sun. We are close to equator. We are a tropical country. Given all that, if you put up data centers in Sri Lanka so I'm not in that business. I cannot speak for it. There's like latencies. We have the CMEV cable coming close to Valigama. All that has to be figured out, right? But I think there's an opportunity, especially in terms of energy, for that unit of electricity, the cost of that to be very low in Sri Lanka. But your question was about the energy sources, Shaf. So for that, this is something that I picked up from the All In podcast as well, and I did a bit of readings of my own. But one of the things that I picked up and then searched as a result of that, US has a push for what we call the small modular reactors, nuclear SMRs. So it's like a power box in your backyard. Is it safe? Is it gonna blow up like Chernobyl and then you're in deep trouble? It remains to be seen. But people are in that path. I'm not an advocate of nuclear energy simply because I don't know enough. Don't want to say that I'm for or against it. Simply saying it's an interesting development. Let's see how that builds up. But can be something because it's clean, right? And then we have hydrogen. We have looked into hydrogen ourselves. We are working with a couple of experts trying to see whether we can use hydrogen to store as well as power up. Because if you go to Europe, their buses are running on fuel cells. There's a push for that. Sri Lanka, it's very new, only a few players. So we are looking at a mix of renewable sources for that stuff.
Now, this video might be seen by someone as still at university thinking about, hey, should I take that first step in building a company or should I not? Where I should take a safe bet, right? So what's your advice for those type of listeners?
Number one, be mindful about what you're getting into, meaning that number of hours you're putting in, the other plans that you will end up canceling because this is your baby and you want to pay attention, spend time. There's a whole ecosystem around it. Your close circle, are they supportive? And then that's about your ecosystem, the support system and all that, right? But in terms of product development, I would say if you have an idea, it's way easier than ever before to put a prototype together and then see how it works. Don't keep building until it's like 100%, until you're 100% happy with your product. Build something, put it out, because the customers will be the ones giving you feedback. That's the main thing. If the moment you ask someone to pay for your product or service, you will get the real validation. So put it out. It can be not very well baked product. Then maybe you will decide that you will have an initial close group of people and you will be the salesperson. And yesterday I picked this up, another good example. Yesterday I was listening to Dilhan from Dilhan Fernando. When they wanted to enter the New Zealand market, one of the largest buyers, like a supermarket chain, they had invested in another tea company. So then they were saying, we have a stake in this other tea company, so we don't want Dilma coming and occupying our shelves. So then Dilhan and his late father, they would stay in front of these supermarkets, set up like a big billboard and give out samples. They were doing the legwork to get it done. So this is the most well-known tea brand coming out of Sri Lanka. Even for them to get into a new market, that's a struggle. So if you, as a founder, if you are not going in front of the customer and gathering feedback, you're doing something wrong. Time for you to get your hands dirty. Maybe you have a co-founder, or maybe you are the co-founder who's good at technical stuff. But then you need someone to complement those skills to run the operations. Get that team who can complement your skills, not duplicate your skills. With our team, that's definitely the case. There are things that I have absolutely no idea how to do. The other person will do it, and vice versa, right? Founding team, have that support system, know what you're getting into, be ready to put in the number of hours. I'm not a huge advocate of losing sleep, by the way. Every hour that you're awake, you can work and then get a good sleep. Your brain needs rest, and then get up and go back. And then the final thing is validate your product, get it stress tested, even a crappy product initially, and then you iteratively build it. Don't wait until it's like super nice and clear with nice interfaces, everything working fine. If you're afraid, get a small group to test. A shout out to the team. I know I'm the spokesperson and you only see me. We talked about developing teams and all that. Currently, we are blessed to have a total of close to 300 people working in all of our companies, including the hospital staff, which is 100 plus. So those are the people driving. I'm just a spokesperson, but kudos to them and shout out to them.
Wishing you all the very best for your venture. I'm looking forward to see how your company will grow outside of Sri Lanka and become a global brand as well in the future. So thank you, Subodha, for joining.
Thank you very much for having me, Shaf, and kudos to what you are doing as well. And we look up to you to get inspiration. While you talk to founders through Builder Story, I hope you put your story out there as well at some point. If you have not done that already, I'm sure the folks out there would be glad to listen to it. So I'm happy to spend time with you. Thanks for inviting me. Hopefully people got something out of it. Thank you.